Oh my, what's this? This isn't a video about video games. Fox Lee, she, her.
Oh, I suppose it isn't. Talen Lee, he, him. What is it then?
Well, every year I try and do, as a form of tradition on the blog that this channel is an extension of, a thing I call Decemberween, which is a festival of promoting free material, free games, free things that you can partake in during a time where you might be, for example, cash-strapped, or in some way just a little bit inclined to retreat to easy things. I use this time to promote, videos that I think are good long-form essays or channels that have a lot of fun stuff on them. But also, in the story pile, I try to make sure we talk about something Christmassy. And then, amongst those, I also have the tradition of making sure we watch something...
Dog movie!
Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Well, I mean, we're doing a dog movie. We're doing a dog movie, and we're doing a movie that is free to watch. You can absolutely watch this movie for free on YouTube, because that's one of the other elements, which is, it's very easy to get in the habit of watching media that is, for the lack of better words, good. And I think it's useful every now and again, because some people go, oh, this show is the worst ever, or this anime is the worst one ever, or something like that. And they're never right. They're never actually truly aware of what bad media is like. So instead, what we get is media that's just kind of mid, that gets hailed as being like terrible. And so to calibrate, I make sure that every Decemberween we feature at least one piece of media made by the Hallmark company, so that we can calibrate what actual soulless, empty garbage made for people with no thoughts and no feelings actually looks like. And this year I found something from Nicely Entertainment, aka Hallmark on Temu.
I'm sorry, what?
Nicely Entertainment, who released in 2019 A Very Corgi Christmas.
Now, hang on a minute. I'm pretty fucking sure we already watched A Very Corgi Christmas.
Oh, Fox.
It was bad.
Fox. We watched A Royal Corgi Christmas. Which is a very different thing.
Uh-huh.
Because this is the only way I'm able to get Fox in on watching these terrible, glurgy movies with me. Because Fox, very sensibly, will only watch them if there's a chance for a good dog in them. Which is why we watched, earlier this year, a movie which is about a character heroically stealing a lady's dog.
Boy, was that this year.
That was this year.
Gosh.
And now we have something that isn't proper Hallmark, isn't genuine Hallmark. But also, It is totally up for free on YouTube by a channel called Fashion, Nails, Style and Beauty.
Oh.
And it is monetized.
Oh.
So...
You're saying we just gave these people money?
We didn't. Get an ad blocker, everyone.
Ooh.
But the point is...
I like the cut of your jib, kid.
The point is, we didn't pay for this movie, which is very important. And also, this movie's just up on YouTube and they're not taking it down. Now, it would be generous to describe this movie as having a plot that we could summarize, but there is a sequence of events.
There's a hook, as it were.
And here is, however, the more important challenge I wish to put to you, Fox.
Oh?
What are the names of the four main characters?
The kid's got like a J name. He's not like a John. He's not a Joe. Okay, the dead dad's name is Paul.
Yep. Sir not appearing in this movie.
And I think the cop partner's name was Ed.
Yeah.
I can't remember any of the names of the characters we were supposed to care about.
Nope.
And the dog didn't get a name. I would have remembered the dog's name, but we never got a name for the dog.
What's the name of the dog's actor?
Sherlock.
Yes. See, I knew it. I knew it.
And the horse's name is Dreamer.
Yes. And they had another extra dog, Corgi, which was named... The actor dog was named...
Foggy!
Yeah.
They credited some sheltered dogs, yes, I remember.
Indeed, my favourite thing about this movie is the credits, in which you get to see the people in this movie who are named and have actors, which is half the credits, and the rest of the credits is just the animal actors.
Oh, Lauren!
Hey!
My name's Lauren! The main character's name is Lauren.
Oh, that's generous, isn't it?
I can't remember the guys. I can remember Polar Pete.
Yeah. The basic plot is you have this woman who works too hard, who gets away from her job with her son. She's a single mother, works as an advertising executive, and decides that she's going to go visit her parents for Christmas. They've gone to Florida, and she winds up making friends with a neighbor, and the neighbor's kid makes friends with her kid. And then the day after they've met, this neighbor dude comes to her and says, "Hey, I just met you, and this is crazy, but
here's my puppy, so...
Dog sit, maybe?
Take it, maybe?"
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, she gets asked to dog sit by someone who has met her for 20 minutes.
Yeah,
but
it's not really appropriate.
But...
It's like suspension of disbelief as it applies to terrible romance movies level of acceptable.
The phrase that Dave and Jeb aren't mean... / It's Christmas Town used, that ultimately is why I have this fascination with Hallmark media in the first place, was that these are movies for the gentlest of people.
Yeah. I mean, it's just... They exist to have no tension in them, right? Which is why there's about 5 places in this movie where it was like, oh, if you're a real movie, this plot development would clearly do this. But you're not a real movie, so instead, it's gonna matter for all of, 6 seconds, and then it will be resolved.
It's kind of a cotton wool universe, and that's why, I just met you. You're living down the road from me for a couple of days. Can you dog sit for me? Because you seem nice, and I think I can trust that. That's a totally valid thing in this particular kind of buttery universe.
And not like a massive overstep from someone who's trying to start a romance with you.
Yeah.
That is way too awkward and my dude. But in this universe, it's not. It's just what you would do.
And we know of so many different ways that dudes can be skeevy with, gifts. So, this isn't a surprise that we had this negative reaction, but also in this universe, oh no, it's a delightful and charming thing to ask for, because she can clearly handle it. And that's when the best thing about this movie happens.
Yeah, well, I mean, the puppy is very cute.
Yeah. I honestly thought they were going to overdo it because it's a corgi puppy, and I thought, oh, this is just going to be like a stuffed animal. This is going to be glurgy as hell.
I mean, it kind of is, because the reason that it's inappropriate to ask someone you met yesterday to take care of a puppy for you is because puppies are a ridiculous amount of work. And the whole pitch for this character is that she's overworked. And has no time for her family, let alone the dog that her son wants.
Yep.
So, getting a puppy right now is a really bad idea for her, and she's not gonna do that, even though he thinks he's getting one for Christmas. Uh-oh, tension. This will never come up again.
What follows from this is a series of kind of almost a potpourri of sequencing events of, here is the dog being cute, here is them interacting around the dog, here is them interacting with one another, here are the kids being charming together. Sequence that together a few times until the movie decides it's, got 15 minutes left. It really needs to step up the thing that they can call tension. And she gets a call from work on Christmas Eve that are like, hey, you need to come in and do extra work for the Jenkins account. And she's like, oh no, I guess you're right. I do have to go do extra work for the Jenkins account. And then she goes in to do the extra work, and her son has a very reasonable but completely unbelievable blow up about how, oh, you're bailing on Christmas Eve.
I mean, it's perfectly emotionally understandable. It's just also very scripted.
Yeah.
You are left with the feeling of, did this child write this and rehearse it? And because I can remember instances in my own childhood where I'm like, ooh, I deserve to get really emotional about this, I'm going to think carefully about how to present my case while being very upset.
Yeah, it also, like...
You want to slap this kid just a little bit.
The delivery of it, though, has the side effect of, like, he is legitimate to be mad, and the words he chooses are mad, that are very, like, they're well-chosen words, but because he has to immediately dissolve back into, okay, I'm handling this, it has high dudgeon to break, immediate, and, like, no, this kid, honestly, should stomp upstairs. This kid is completely legit to just bail on the conversation and leave his mum and be mad at her. Because he, like, the way he spoke and the words he used indicate that he should be that mad. The fact that he then pivots to, it's okay, I'm used to it.
But the line read property of it makes that. Like, that's exactly what you would do. Because this kid has thought about how he's going to be angry about this. And... like, even the it's okay, I'm used to it is, like, with the predictable badness of a child actor's delivery, seems extremely manipulative.
In this, some of the cheapest form of media of its kind.
That's the kid's fault. Most kids are not good actors. It's fine, it's whatever, but it is funny because it makes the kid seem insincere and manipulative.
It is pretty messed up that my reaction to this was, oh, this is a badly done scene because the diegesis breaks for me and I therefore go, oh, like, this is clearly a director making choices. And you went, no, diegetically, this works, but it makes the kid look manipulative.
Well, it doesn't work diegetically because that's not what this movie is trying to do.
No.
Which just makes it bad.
Anyway, she goes back to work and has a conversation with all three of the Ghosts of Christmas Past in the form of one slightly older woman executive with different priorities to her. Then has a panic attack, leaves, heads home, tells her boss that Jenkins has to solve his own mess, gets the cops to race her home while running the siren for the puppy, and then they meet at, is it too late? Oh no, it's not too late. Oh, they're here, they kiss, movie ends. Like, they have a kiss, the kids react to the kiss, they have another kiss, and then credits. Like, boom.
Maybe the kid is really manipulative. Because he did plan out that entire scene where they let her think that she didn't make it back in time, and then he gets to, like, march onto stage and go, aha!
Well, yes, the kid is definitely written that way.
And they make a point of this kid always having a plan.
Yeah, but I don't think that's actually intentional writing.
No, I've discovered a hidden level in this movie.
Yeah.
That makes it not bad and just awful.
Yeah, guess what, Fox? You're now running a Hallmark lore channel.
No! Ah! Rewind. I just want to look at the cute puppy.
And, so that's the plot of this movie. And I have, like, we've done this before. We've watched media we don't like, and we've managed to, wring some commentary out of it. But in this case...
so little here.
I have two things to remark on in this movie beyond, like, its general inoffensiveness.
There's not even anything to really be angry about. This is not like the movie where they fucking stole her dog in the house for a favor. This is not like the movie where the guy character could have solved the whole problem by just making a phone call and going, I don't want to sell my business, actually. That's the power that I have.
Yeah.
And it's not like the first Corgi movie where they were like, oh, let's get an expert behaviorist in for this dog. And this woman, like, lets the dog do whatever it wants for 90% of the movie while she talks to a hot boy.
Clearly does not know what
Clearly
dog
does not know
do.
shit about dogs, no.
Yeah. This one, and like, you can tell in a lot of ways, this isn't quite Hallmark. It's just cheap crap designed to fit on the same kind of channel.
Yeah, it's absolutely the same thing. It is like you said, it's a Hallmark you found on Temu.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is, it loses some of the really specifically unhinged things Hallmark has to it. Like, you do lose some of the scope. The cast of this is like 6 people.
Yeah.
And, like, a lot of the Hallmark movies, at least you get a gathering with a large number of extras. Whereas this, even the Santa gathering scene, it's kind of, what do we got here? Like 6 people?
I mean, there were some extras. They had a coffee shop. They had a completely unnecessary encounter with an ex-girlfriend who there's... Like, the scene goes nowhere and adds nothing. There's no reason for it to exist.
Yeah, it's part of the potpourri.
They got an actor in for that.
Yep. And it also doesn't have the Hallmark lingering on product. Like, Hallmark has so many ads in the media of the movie.
I think I don't notice that stuff in the Hallmark movies because I'm so detached from anything Hallmark would ever try to sell me. Though I did, in this movie, recognize a set of bowls that I have definitely seen for sale, so I don't know what that says.
There's in Hallmark, part of it is because, like, as far as actually making an ad goes, Hallmark are good at that. Like, Hallmark will do slow pans over a series of ornaments and use that timed with the music to be like, oh, we're actually just setting up a scene, as opposed to, we just showed you $9.99 on our shop, $11.99 at our shop, $15.99 at our shop, which, credit where it's due, Hallmark are actually capable of that. Also,
I'll have to take your word for it.
Also, it doesn't have the Hallmark ridiculousness about food. Like, we saw food multiple times in this movie, and at no point was it completely unhinged.
There was a whole cupcake decorating scene.
Yeah.
Where one character was terribly ashamed of how bad she was at it, and the other character was some kind of expert, and their cupcakes did not look meaningfully different from one another. His had more volume in their toppings.
Yes.
But it's not like one was competent and one wasn't. They were just different.
I respectfully disagree. In that he used but the thing is, he used different things for his. She has icing sugar over the top of a cupcake. Yeah. He has aerated foam cream on it, which is like, why do you have a bowl of buttercream for him and she didn't use it? That's weird. But so the two things that I actually think about this movie that, like, stood out to me, aside from, oh wow, you can really see that it's not actually Hallmark. The first thing is, he has weird game. Like, for all that this movie dislikes women, especially successful women who work, because it doesn't know how to imagine what those women are actually like.
I don't know, I think it might just dislike all women. But go on.
We see 4 women, my bad, because I forgot about the ex-girlfriend. But
there's grandma, I guess.
Yeah, there's grandma. Oh yeah, I forgot about the sister. Okay, so there's a cop. Yep, fair enough. There are a number of women's, but her being a workaholic is very much a declared trait. None of her behavior matches up with being a workaholic.
No, especially the bit where she's spending the whole, like, she's
montage?
working on the accounts the whole time. So there's a montage of her trying to work while the puppy does puppy things. Or movie puppy things. We'll get onto my notes for that later. But the fact that she is spending all this time where she's supposedly working the entire time instead of taking a holiday, sitting on a bed, hunched over a laptop that's sitting on the bed in front of her.
Yeah.
Which is not how anyone who professionally spends their free time working on a laptop is doing that.
That's how a Microsoft ad for a laptop with a soundtrack by Sarah Bareilles presents it. No one actually uses a laptop that way.
They sell you this idea that you'll be able to just, seamlessly place a laptop into a scene you would already exist in, where you're like enjoying breakfast on a lazy Sunday morning, and then when you actually get the laptop out, it says, don't put me on soft surfaces where my vents will be covered. That's inappropriate. Don't put me on your lap. Dear God, don't put me on your lap.
Yeah, and if you just try and type anything in that position, it hurts like hell because your wrists are at an angle.
Your wrists are like at a 90-degree angle.
But I'm used to this media hating women, like in the low-key passive, just like, here's what you want, you stupid cows kind of way. But I'm not used to the way that, like, this movie actually went, we want this guy to be someone you could fall in love with over the course of like a week before Christmas, and he's actually interesting and has traits about him that aren't stuff he owns.
Yeah, no, he's alright. He's an all-purpose handyman, and not just in the macho way. Like, he fixes toys and he takes care of the kids and he bakes and he decorates. He does all the girly shit that guys aren't supposed to like, but women actually do want. So when they make a movie for women, the guys have those traits. And when they make a movie for the whole family, the guys don't.
And when he wants to talk to her,
He reaches out to talk to her. He doesn't bicker with her. This is a thing that...
Actually, that's the real difference with
Yeah.
the Hallmark movie. They're not trying to do the, like, oh, we playfully riff one another and that's how we show our affection. Which Hallmark movies are so bad at.
Yeah, like, consistently, the Hallmark movies we've watched, every single time the dynamic between the two leads has been two people who don't like each other.
Feels so mean-spirited.
Yeah.
Whereas this, you know, I wouldn't call it chemistry because they're both so fake. That you can't actually feel anything about them, but like they are written as two people who would have no reason to not want to be around each other.
Yeah, and if you dismantle what he says from what he's doing and like the way it's delivered, and just look in terms of what does this guy actually have to say and what does he do, it's a very good list of things that a character should do, given that he likes her, enjoys spending time around her, and wants to do more of it.
And I like that one grey cardigan he wears a lot.
Yeah. But even then, I didn't even notice that. Like at first, it was like,
You're not meant to notice that, Talen.
yeah. But like, he reaches out to her. He offers her specific things. He is clear about an interest to spend time with her. He takes care of the kids with her and makes sure she's okay with that. It is... it is embarrassing the low bar this guy is soaring over for this genre.
I do find it slightly like he does come across as a little bit smug whenever whenever he's lecturing her about her problems.
Yes.
Because there's a lot of like, well, would person who you're using as an excuse want you to do that? And obviously the answer is no, but it's not okay for you to say that to someone that you've known for 2 days.
Yeah, especially about their dead husband.
Yeah, like, well, would your dead husband want you to not fuck me? That's not appropriate. Don't go there.
And there is a bit of a tension there in that this is a well-timed Hallmark established genre point of the trauma swap. Where it's like, I'm sad because my job fell apart. Well, I'm sad because my husband died. And like, well, we make a pretty pair, don't we? We have these two different things, and now we're going to state the thesis of the film. But here... he is someone who is a little bit more over his lost relationship.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's not really a trauma swap, because he
No.
doesn't have anything in that trauma box left. He's clearly ready to move on, and this entire thing is about therapy for her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, you know, for people who don't believe in therapy or the agency of women, this is as close as they're going to get.
And also, it like the fact that he is hyper competent wouldn't bother me so much if also she wasn't just bad at everything.
Yeah, because that's
like,
the second thing, isn't
she
it?
insists that she's good at her job, and we have no choice but to believe her, despite the fact that the advertising campaign posters hanging in her office that looks like a kid's bedroom office are some of the worst graphic design I've ever seen.
Yeah. This is the second point, which is this movie just hates women. This movie hates women so much that it will associate most of the women with the movie with signifiers of incompetence and evil. Like, she's not just a workaholic. She's a workaholic advertising executive. And the opening and establishing of this movie is about how stupid and bad advertising executives are at their jobs. Which is really funny considering this movie was not made by directors and scriptwriters. It was made by advertising executives.
I don't know. I don't think it was being self-aware in that moment.
No.
I think it was just like, oh, the focus group was wrong. They're the ones who are funny.
But
they're the ones who are being mocked.
But the thing is, they should be able to tell that those ads obviously suck shit. And they couldn't, because why should they be able to? They're advertising executives. They can't make these kind of judgment calls. They're not sensible. It's a way of projecting a determined kind of expertise, where the movie's like, oh, they're meant to be experts in their field, but also we will then use practical examples to show that whatever expertise they have doesn't mean they do a good job.
That's the logical conclusion, but I think you're bringing that logical conclusion to the table. I don't think the movie knows it.
Sure, this movie can be stupider than it realizes.
I think the movie thinks she is competent at a competent job.
I don't think that's true, only because they would have shown us a second thing they did.
We can just agree to disagree about this.
And of course, the other thing is, as with Christian media, you can't rise above the best creative in your own field. So, like, there's no way this production with its graphic design for itself
Oh, sure, yeah.
could possibly represent better graphic design than anyone on staff could generate, which is why the graphic design in this looks like piss.
Yeah, so, like, I'm not taking that as being diegetic or anything, which is why I'm saying I think it intends that she is good at her job, and I think it intends that her job is a good and useful thing to be good at. The only issue is that she's too committed to it, and she lets her boss take advantage of her for that reason, and blah, 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 and whatever. Until, of course, she realizes that the miserable hag is miserable, even if the miserable hag doesn't think so.
Yeah, when she states that she's happy. Like, when she couldn't possibly
She very clearly says, I have different priorities.
Yep.
And I had to go through a few husbands before I found someone who gets it, but he gets it. And this is the most horrifying thing our friend has ever heard.
That's what prompts the panic attack.
Yeah. And it's what it is. But, yeah, it's not just that she's informedly good at her job rather than demonstrably good at her job, but also she's not good at the decorating, apparently.
Nope.
She's not good at the baking, apparently.
Nope.
She's not good at planning, because the whole plot gets set up by her failing to communicate properly with both her parents and her sister while organizing to come and stay at their place over the holidays.
Imagine being this kind of type A person and not answering an email.
And she's so bad at all this other shit that her kid is making fun of her for the whole movie, which does not do him any favors as a character.
Yeah, but that's okay, because she's a woman, and this movie hates women.
It really does. Oh, and also they're too dumb to check their own fuse box. They need a guy to do that for them.
I think that's why his game is such a surprise to me, because, like, for a movie that's so condescending and negative about just so many things just about women, period, someone clearly had enough attention to go, yes, but would a woman want to fuck him? And then wrote him as if a woman should want to fuck him. So, like, there's enough empathy in there for the idea of a woman in the audience, and then everything else about women is like, yes, well, getting too focused on your job and neglecting your family. You do that all the time, don't you?
Now, the sister, on the other hand, who I hate.
Because she's a cop, or just because she's awful? Because there's both.
It can be all of the above.
Yeah.
I hate her mannerism. She's got like this weird sort of slightly Valley Girl thing going on. And she's just so, tut, tilt my head at you, sister, kind of affect that just makes me want to punch her through a window.
Yeah, and her mixtape of 90s songs, which, you were listening to them when you were -2?
She's at least 10 years younger than me. There's no fucking way she has a 90s mixtape in that car.
This movie is set in 2019, and that cop looks maybe 25.
She is a broadly competent character who can clearly do a lot of things. Mm-hmm. But also, despite being a cop, does not know how to just check a fuse box.
Yeah.
So, I do find that very dubious.
And also, like, it's the typical propaganda angle of, like, yep, she's a small-town police officer.
Salt of the earth, good at everything, and it's fine that she'll run the siren just for you, her nephew, because rules don't apply to cops, but in a funny way.
Yeah, it's exactly what you think. It's the same kind of, gee, shucks, aw, hokum kind of thing.
It's boys will be boys, but cops will be cops.
Uh-huh. Now, there's probably going to be, once I uncork this particular bottle, some dog talk from you. So I just want to make one final point before I fizz that bottle and let it go, which is Ben, the love interest.
His name's Ben?
Yeah. He is played by a guy called Kevin McGeary, who has one non-Hallmark, non-nicely acting credit to his name.
He does seem like an actor who would be doomed to that life.
Because his previous non-bullshit role was in Saw 3D.
Oh boy.
And the best part about it is, he's got a credit on Saw 3D, he's got a name in Saw 3D. There is nobody on the internet who can tell you who that character is. There is a character in Saw 3D who the credits say is Charlie, who's played by Kevin McGeary, but you can't fucking find him. And I know because I went looking and I found on the Saw Wiki community forums someone saying, who's this Charlie character supposedly played by Kevin McGeary? I've done the count and I can't find this guy. Who is he? Was he in a deleted scene? And someone else
That's
going,
wild.
The only Charlie in this movie is the composer, and I don't think he had a scene on camera.
I get it must be a deleted scene kind of thing.
Right.
Like, you don't get a named role without there being a character at some point.
Yeah, it's a union thing.
Exactly, yeah.
Like, he got paid for that.
One of the only actual fucking unions that does anything in America.
If-
that is able to do anything, should I say.
If you bought a DVD copy of Saw 3D, you put a couple of pennies in that man's pocket.
And now you have a Corgi Christmas Very.
Yep. Alright, Fox, here we go. Dog talk!
Honestly, not that bad. When
What?
I think about our previous dog movies.
Okay, fair.
Okay. Major points. People keep putting this puppy in a box as if a puppy stays in a box once you put it there, and that's just very funny to me.
It does have very short legs.
It does have very short legs, but you're overlooking an important fact, which is that a box
It's made of box.
Made of box. It falls over very easily when puppies are very excited about getting out of boxes. And boxes have a habit of not staying upright. So I'm just saying the dog is gone instantly. And the other thing is just that there is so much of this puppy like playing and being cute and whatever. And she supposedly hides this dog from her kid for several days in the house. And there is no universe in which that has happened because puppies need to pee like every couple of hours.
Yeah.
It's very regular. Puppies fall asleep constantly, and as soon as they wake up, you take them outside because they need to pee as soon as they wake up. That's how they work. That's how babies do, right?
Yeah.
So the idea that she's just been sitting up in her room working all day with this dog adorably crawling all over, it's like, no. Mate. No, I did that for 5 minutes, then it fell asleep, then you learned that you have to take the dog outside constantly.
Otherwise it is pissing in, what is it you said, all 6 corners of this room?
This giant fucking room in this giant fucking house where our character, who is supposedly a traumatized Christmas Grinch, has decorated her own bed with tinsel. That
But like, I am glad to know that they did a better job of the dog stuff than normal.
Well, mostly they just didn't say a bunch of stupid shit about how it works. Or do something incompetent like having a dog shelter that looks like it was made for Instagram. Right? Like, it's just a puppy being cute.
I forgot about the dog shelter where all the dogs could very clearly go over or under the walls.
Anything.
Don't worry, we'll do this again in February. We're gonna see this all happen again. It's gonna be great.
Yeah, like, the main dog crime in this movie is just pretending that there's any universe in which she was able to keep this dog a secret. Because also, she's, like, constantly coming downstairs and just leaving the dog up in her bedroom.
Yeah.
And a puppy that is left alone and isn't sleeping is a puppy that is yelling.
And looking for you.
And scratching. And shredding things. We do get a bit of destructive behavior.
Yeah.
But nothing that's really destructive. Like, it chews up a toy that she cares about, but not in any way that's not fixable.
So
and she's
just to clarify though,
yeah?
this is important,
right?
all right? This is
Okay.
Fox Dog Whisperer here, because when the dog got the toy, when the big stuffed toy, which was a teddy bear, got put near the dog, you jokingly, as the dog, said, "I'm gonna eat that thing groin first."
Listen, I've had a few dogs in my time.
And when we find the dog savaging the toy, what's happening?
Pulling the stuffing out through the groin.
Just saying, you called it.
But if it's a teddy bear, it's sitting like this. If you walk up to it from the front and you just grab it, that's what you're going to get.
And also, when he surveyed the damage later, and when Ben looked at the damage later, he did not look at the groin, he looked at the ear. Like, oh, someone's ashamed of this bear's newly installed vagina.
Yeah, they sort of artfully detached one of the ears.
Yeah.
It's funny how little damage the dog does to the toy. There is a lot, I said earlier, there are a lot of if this was a real movie moments, and that's definitely one of them, where it's like, oh, I just decided to let this part of my life back into it, start feeling some of my childhood joy about this toy that clearly belonged to me, and I had this awful moment where my love interest and I sang the theme, so it wasn't good.
Cringe.
Very cringe. And I say that as someone who would happily sing Fraggle Rock with you at a moment's notice.
Yeah.
But it got me. Anyway, and in a real movie that would have been like a moment
Actually
that carried
heartbreaking.
some weight of like, no, this really means something to me. I'm going to be upset with this man who has expected me to look after this dog for him when I told him I don't have time to do that, and I knew this wasn't something that I should take on, but I let him talk me into it, and now I've been personally harmed because of that.
Yeah,
As,
and you have like the old things that brought me comfort from my old life being damaged by a new thing from this new potential part of my life. Like all sorts of things that like,
There's a symbolic resonance there. Do I open myself to injury in order to find something new that has value?
Cinema!
But not
Get in the
here.
robot, Shinji.
She sees the bear with its new vagina and is just like, oh, what did you do? Smile.
That's also one of the things that stands out when you know that this kind of movie is an ad and you look at her performances, how consistently she is avoiding doing anything that doesn't make her look good. All of her angles, everything is always very carefully chosen. She's always smiling even when she's upset with the dog because, don't want to look bad.
No, that might make our viewers feel bad about themselves.
Uh-huh.
And we only want them to feel a tiny bit bad about themselves, so they buy makeup products and whatnot.
Yeah.
Her makeup is... ugh.
The open the door, close the door moment was genuinely funny, and then you realized why she closed the door, and it sucks.
Well, I was very much not buying into the fiction of the world at that point, so I was like, you closed the door on this weirdo when he just showed up at your house the second day? Good!
Yeah.
Done! We're done! Movie over!
He dropped a dog on you last time. What's he going to do this time, an alpaca?
Oh, this is when he showed up with the dog.
Right, yeah.
So they seen him for 5 minutes, and he insisted on fixing her lights by looking into her fuse box and then left.
This is
but not before their kids scripted a conversation about how they should get together, basically.
Yeah.
Obnoxious fucking kids.
It definitely has the Hallmark foregone conclusion to everything.
Oh, yeah. Hell yeah.
Two trains on the same track facing each other like Gomez Adams, except when they land, they just go boop.
They bring up the thing about her secret Christmas, like the fact that she doesn't like Christmas, like halfway through the movie.
Yeah.
And they're suddenly talking about, like I blinked and they were talking about why she didn't like Christmas. And I was like, when the fuck did that happen?
Yeah.
Apparently it does. And he's like, oh, there's that smile again. I made you smile. And you're like, when is she not smiling?
She is always smiling. It is one of the worst things about her. She looks so artificial because she's always smiling.
This is wild.
Anyway.
So in a real movie, that would have been an issue. And in a real movie, when the dog first shows up, and she agrees to take because the dude buys the dog for his daughter, and asks her to keep it so he can keep it a secret from the daughter until Christmas, right?
Right.
So he had to get it earlier than he expected. Okay, whatever. Unacceptable request, but let's assume that it is. But then the fact that it is impossible to hide a brand new corgi puppy. Corgis are not quiet dogs, incidentally.
Corgis are one of those boundless energy, play all the time. We will, you don't get a corgi unless you are committing to play with that corgi constantly, right?
Yeah, corgis are high energy.
Yeah.
I mean, they're not like working dog high energy, but they are high energy.
It's true. I was mentally filing healers in a tier above that, but they are like
exactly.
It's not like our little cuddle bug here.
Not like lazy scrawny baby. Mm-hmm. So immediately the picture forms of how this entire thing plays out, right? She gets busted immediately because her kid is not stupid. Her kid is obnoxiously smart, like to the point where he's unlikable.
Yeah.
So immediately he works this out and goes, oh, no, okay, but I'm going to play along. I'm not going to ruin this surprise that she's planning for me.
Yeah.
Because this is clearly a dog for me.
And we had that theory.
Yeah, that's absolutely what I thought was going to happen. And then it'll just have to be like, oh, no, now we have to stay together because both of our kids got attached to the same dog. Too bad, I guess we get to fuck now.
Yeah, and by the way, that would still be an extremely toothless movie.
Absolutely.
But it would have a mild twist in it, which would be the kids' bad acting is because the kids diegetically are bad actors. And that would be funny.
Yeah. Like, I expected a sort of liar reveal, like a very gentle liar reveal where, like, the kid has to deal with finding out that this was not, in fact, a surprise for him.
Uh-huh.
And you know, that's where the element of betrayal came up, which, like, honestly would have worked better than what they did, where they suddenly were like, oh, and now they're gonna try and call her home and she has to drive back to the city and not be there for the arbitrary event that apparently it was very important that she promised to go to or whatever. I don't know, the kid found out about it yesterday, but he's very attached to the idea. But it's not a real movie, so that doesn't happen. And then there's also the fact that we find out her secret Christmas trauma is because her husband died on Christmas.
Yeah.
Well, not on Christmas, but around
Christmas.
Which, by the way, she describes as the hardest Christmas of my life. Which I just want to put a pin in that, because if she'd said that was the hardest year of my life, or that was the hardest holiday,
or hardest time,
anything like that, that would be fine. But she said Christmas, which implies...
As soon as Christmas was over, the grieving was done.
Other Christmases have been in competition with the time her husband and the father of her child died.
It is a just take a second draft kind of movie.
Yeah, it's not the words that should be there. Just very slight little tweak. Just a teeny little bit of a script doc. Just a little bit.
Well,
get out my little handyman thing and look in your script fuse box and go, you really are bad at everything, aren't you?
That is indeed one of the things that, again, 2.2 Christmas Town again, it's a problem with this whole genre, because, like, these movies feel like they were cranked out in a day. And that means that, you know, the shooting schedule needs 2 night scenes, so we need to fucking knock them out when the second the sun goes down, and we're not going to do a second take, and the kid's got awkward delivery for the first 45 minutes of the movie because the kid's not used to this yet, but we do not have time to go back and retake those scenes. It's fine. It'll do. The script is a bit bad, but it's fine. We don't have time to go back and revise it.
The first 45 minutes of the movie and the remaining 35 minutes of the movie.
And 3 minutes of credits.
Yeah, so in a real movie, the other thing that would have happened is that because she was rushing to try and go to job in city, do job, and then come back in time for tree thing that night, which apparently she left immediately and still didn't get back in time, so I don't know what universe she thought she was actually going to do all of this. But whatever, in real movie, she would have been rushing and driving erratically and gotten into a near scrape on the road trying to make this happen. And her epiphany would have been, I nearly killed my parents' other child on Christmas.
Yeah.
What the fuck am I doing? But this movie is not interested in anything like that level of tension. So instead, she just has the miserable hag conversation.
Yeah, Christmas really does seem like a very dangerous time when it's so snowy. Anyway, at this point, we have now talked about this movie, which is 90 minutes, for a bit over 40 minutes. So it turns out there's a lot we could squeeze out of this particular lemon.
Did I have any other dog notes? The scene where the dude is... Every scene where the dude has a dog on a lead, the dog is not happy to walk with him.
Yeah.
And he's pulling it way too hard and it looks super awkward. Now, they realize this and he only has, 2 scenes where he has a dog on a lead, so that's good. But, very uncomfortable scenes. The scene where they're walking the shelter dogs... I believe they are actual shelter dogs because they're just clearly so fucking happy to be there.
Yep. And Eddie, the black cop, being led by the largest dog of the group. That makes complete sense because you're surrounded by snow. Whoever made that scene, whoever put that together, good job. You made me believe that he actually had to be careful walking like that because he was being pulled by a big dog on a slippery surface.
I really liked Eddie. Eddie was the best human character in this movie, despite being a cop, which is really saying something.
Yeah.
And this is entirely because Eddie existed to be, comically here for the dog.
Yeah.
There's a 5-second scene where the cop's sister has to take care of the puppy in the squad car for a day, and they open with him being like, really? And by the end of the day, he's like, oh, do anything for you, little puppy.
Yeah.
And, that's all he's there for. He's a joke of a character, but he is enjoyable and sincere in that he's the only person who's like, I don't care what you and your son want, but I'll do it for the dog.
Yeah. Which really is why we watched this movie in the first place.
Do it for the dog.
Thank you so much for coming along on this, Fox.
It feels wrong to thank you. But I will say I'm glad to participate. Merry Christmas.
And a happy December ween to us all.
Dog movie.
Dog movie.